1, 2, 3, 4.
Yo,
And we're
yo.
back. Okay, so real quick, I do want to give a disclaimer, which if you listened to last week's episode, you might have already picked on I'm going to give it anyways. I say the word advocacy a lot, and I think I was using it interchangeably with activism. So there's just that. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. Because as I was listening, I was like, what's happening right now? But my point still stands, and I think it still works. So whatever. You're here, you made it. We're a mess. You know this. What's new? Um, Today, I think that it's important to remember where we left off, right? Like, imagine we're like a reality TV show where it's like to be continued, blah, 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 right? So that,
Last week on.
right, exactly. So last week, the last couple things we were saying was me saying, you never know, right? And Olivia being like, oh my God, don't be so morbid. But that is where I want to start this week because we're actually, LOL, going to talk about death today. And you're like, what? You're like, Jesus Christ, this season is not what I expected. Well, tough shit.
Here we are.
Here we
Expect
are.
the unexpected. We're here to reveal all of the mess, and you're here to listen and appreciate that we're going over these topics. So you're welcome.
Indeed. But specifically, I want to talk about the idea that, like, you, for some reason, we have this cultural, I don't know if it's cultural, I don't know if it's familiar, I don't know what it is, but like, people really don't want to acknowledge the fact that people die, right? Like, I get this a lot. Don't be morbid. When I was in college, actually, okay, do you remember my roommate? I don't know. Should I name names like this? Shout out to my college roommate. No, but so I had that one roommate named Callie. I'm not gonna like drag her or anything, so I don't think she would like hate me if I said this because this was just something that happened. But do you remember my roommate Callie? I don't know if you ever met her.
I don't think so.
No, okay, no, because you and I met the next year. Okay, so the first year that
Yeah.
I lived with this girl named Callie, and um, Callie and I shared a bathroom. And this was like deep in my personal development area. This is like I'm listening to like when you and I met, like I was still very much in it, but like that year I was like really like in it. And so I was still like listening to audios like every morning. Like I was listening to like you will succeed, like that kind of shit. And I had a post-it on our bathroom mirror that said,
No.
remember, a post on our bathroom mirror that said, remember, you're going to die. For me, in this zone that I was in, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna die. I have to make the most of it. I have to like live life up. I have to like yes, life sucks and yes, life's hard. Because that was like all honestly probably like the hardest year of my life with some of the stuff that I was working through. Um and like personal tragedies. And so I was like really deep into this idea of like you're gonna die and yeah, shit is hard. However, like shit's also beautiful. Like you have to like be able to appreciate like the little things, like the sunrises and like the things that like make you like really emotional and like the beautiful parts of life, right? So I had put this post-it and then Callie once was like, my God, you're so morbid. Like I don't see that every day when I go to the bathroom. And I should have probably anticipated just how much kind of like that idea is pervasive, but I thought like, oh shit, whatever. She's a, your average 20 something year old college student, yada yada. But as time has gone on, I really have had this experience where like Dom and I talk, because Dom and I mean, to be fair, Dom and I talk like, oh, if we got divorced, oh, if one of us died, like I say things like that all the
You're
time.
very explicit about
What I
the
would want and what I
future
wouldn't.
and all possible scenarios.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think part of it is like one my sense of humor was like low-key dark sometimes, sure. But I also think part of it is the fact that Dom and I have both seen a lot of like death. Like in 21, I had 6 people that I know die, right? Like if Dom had 1 or 2 people die every year, we had last year one of Dom's childhood friends died. The year before, another childhood friend. Like we have seen, I think, for people that are like late 20s, early 30s, like in that season of life, like up until that point, we've seen a lot. The other day I was talking to someone who was like, "Oh, my grandma died last year. It was the first time someone's died." And I was like, "Oh shit. Like I have
Oh,
that's beautiful, like that's like your life experience." But I think part of this is the fact
yeah.
that I've seen plenty of people die. I've kind of been around that, and my mom's a caregiver. And so we've never not had
Mm.
conversations about end of life stuff because she's been around for the end of life planning for a lot of her people. In fact, actually, this is a really fun story, I think, to segue us into this kind of concept. My
5 minutes into the death episode, here's a fun story.
it is fun. So my mom, because of her work as a caregiver, has been invited to several funerals for her clients. And I, by extension, I don't know, I've kind of been like my mom's unofficial plus one to everything in her life. Like my dad's not available, like I'm going. And so, like, as a kid, it was funny because, like, I had to go, but now as an adult, like, sometimes I just end up in places and I'm like, how did I get here? I went to this random person's wedding a couple years ago, and the whole time I was like, I knew no one, I had no context, things were happening. There was a little lap dance going on that I was like, I don't even know these people and I'm uncomfortable, right? So, like, I just end up in these spaces. So, one of the times, I'll start funny and then go meaningful. One of the times, I'm like at this funeral for this woman. I've heard her name, but I don't know shit about her. Okay, she's a woman.
You've never seen a picture,
Well,
you don't
I
know.
no, you know what? I saw her picture as we walked in, and it was like in living memory of right. So I'm at a funeral. I don't know this person, and also me. Okay, and there are things about myself that have changed over the years. Certain parts definitely have not. What do I do when I'm uncomfortable? I make people laugh. What do I do when I'm happy? I make people laugh, right? Like that's what I love to and live to do. So I'm at this funeral and I think I kind of knew I don't remember. I think I knew her name. That's as much as I knew. And I'm like there. All of a sudden, like eulogy happens, whatever. And people start passing this mic around for people to share their memories of this woman. Okay? The room is packed. The woman had children, grandchildren, friends, family. Like, the room is packed. And the mic gets to me. And I know nothing about this woman. Tell me what came out of my mouth was, and for dramatic effect, because Olivia's watching me, I'll hold this as a microphone. I said, so I've always hated green beans, right? The room goes dead silent. Like, what the? Who? First of all, I'm sure most of them were thinking, "Who the fuck is that at our grandma's funeral?" Like, huh? But I have nothing if not good intros. I have a hook, you know. They're all like, "What?" And
Yup.
I'm like, "That is intact." Until my mom met. I think her name was Rose. Shout out to Rose. I don't remember actually if that's her name, but I was like, that was intact until my mom met Rose.
RIP.
And I went into this whole speech um about how Rose had taught my mom how to make green beans. And I had for the first time had them. And like I had actually really liked them. And so like a person that she had no connection to was gonna have like the lasting impact on their life of liking green beans because my mom knew how to make them a specific way, which was the way that Rose made them, right? So the room is now crying. They're all like, oh my God.
Wow.
Right. And I'm like, I can pull anything out of anything. I'm killing it.
This is from the same person, from the mind that brought you her psych thesis presentation in 25 minutes featuring memes or whatever that was.
Yes. What can I say? I'm brilliant under pressure. I'm built to speak to the people. Yeah. So anyways, so that was one of my experiences. And then after as I'm standing there being like, did I just talk about green beans at someone's funeral? Her granddaughter comes up and is like, hi, so Rose is my grandma. And I'm like, oh. And she's like, I just want you to know, like, that was so nice what you shared and like parts of my grandmother. Like, she had this whole meaningful connection to my speech about green beans. And I was like, thanks for having me. Like, I really didn't know her, but like, and like, whatever we wanted. Meanwhile, my mom's an icon in that way as well. So she was also like, LOL. But I'm sure at first she also expressed that afterward when we left, she was like, Camila, when you said I have never liked green beans, I was expressed. And I'm like, Mom, why are you bringing me to funerals of people I've never met before? It's a with open mics. Like, what? So, first of all, I'd like to point out that I do, when I die, if you're listening to this and for some reason you get an invite to my funeral, please bring a rando and please pass them the mic because I'll be up there laughing. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be incredible. Part two of that, and this is like the meaningful bit, is
It's crazy. Okay. What's the meaningful bit?
the meaningful bit outside of the fact that like I do still like green beans, shout out to Rose, is the
Green bean
fact that
slap. Hey.
they do, but the Rose's recipe slaps the hardest. When my mom's caregiving client died, Donald, shout out to Donald, love you guy, miss you guy. She had been with him for like 2 or 3 years. One of her longest running clients. In 21. This was also the year that we had 4 family members die back home whose funerals we couldn't go to because it was peak COVID, no travel, or with all the travel restrictions and everything like that. I hadn't really been able to properly grieve. And so when Donald died, who was the sixth person that year that died, and I was like, by that point, I was over fucking whelmed because I had 4 people in my family die, and then someone that I had grown up with who was like 21, maybe senior in college, like walking down the road on his way to practice, got hit by a car.
Oh my
Shout
God.
out to Hugo. This is just gonna be a shout out to all the people that have died, I guess. But
R.I.P. everyone we've ever
RIP
known who's now
everyone.
dead.
Right. So this was all happening like that summer. I legitimately flew back to California because we were living in Texas. Flew back to California, went to a wedding on a Saturday and Hugo's funeral on Monday. Yeah. And so I was just like deep in thought about like life and mortality, even more so than I'd ever been really. But when Donald died, his son did something that was like honestly magical, healing. I will appreciate this memory forever. Um, because Donald didn't really have family or friends, he just had his son. So his son flew in with his wife. They live in Europe, and Donald had planned years prior, had paid for this, for his ashes to be spread in the San Francisco Bay. And so there's this company where you can pay for your ashes to be taken with your loved ones, and they take you out on a boat under the bridge, and you have like a whole ceremony, and like you scatter your ashes under the bridge. I had no idea that this was a thing that existed. But because my mom got an invite, as she had been his caregiver for 3 years, and my dad knew by that point his son, they decided to invite me too, which I was like, oh, like me and Dom had like known him in passing, but like we weren't like super close. But 3 years is a long time, so I did know like a fair amount about him. So anyway, so we went, and so it ended up being just the six of us, like on this little boat, and it was truly like one of the best experiences of my life. Like I was able to, and I told them like that moment meant so much to me, as I had had so much death that year that I hadn't been able to participate in end of life rites and tradition surrounding death, that it felt like I packed all of my tradition into like those two, like Hugo's funeral and then also his, but his was just so beautiful. Like I love the water, as you know. And so like being on a boat and like being able, like the company, they give you beverages. So like like, what would you like to drink? What would you like to drink? And you're all kind of there for this purpose. And then you all get to say words and like spread the ashes into the bay, like and the sun is hitting the bridge and you're just like out on the water. And it's just like, it was so nice. And I
Beautiful.
remember thinking, and then after that, like we went out to lunch and Dom and I had parked hella far from where the restaurant was. So we got one of those like lime scooters and we like lime
Oh my
scootered the two
God.
miles to the restaurant together. And it was amazing. Like Dom and I still talk about how fun that was to like be on the lime scooters, like on the Embarcadero, and it's a great day. And I think that it's one of the times that it's really like called into focus for me how much I want my death, or just like death as a concept in my household, to be something that is A, discussed, but B, can be beautiful. And I think that that's what drives like the focus for me of like not shying away from the fact that I could die tomorrow. Outside of the fact that I think it's important to remind ourselves of our own mortality and to live our lives in a way that like we would feel genuinely happy about at the end of our life because we don't know when the end of our life is going to be, right? Like we just don't know. And do Dom and I hope that the world and the seasons make it so that we end up, at our 85 and 88 years of age holding hands going out a la notebook? Absolutely. Right? Like,
The
yes,
dream.
that's the dream, right? Like, hold me in a hammock and let us float away. But hopefully, hold me in a hammock as we float away, and my friends and family are around me, and they're happy for me as I like take that next step into whatever lies beyond. And and if that doesn't happen, I want my wishes to be known so that there isn't that extra stress of like, what would Camilla have wanted? What would Camilla do in this situation? Like, I think it's important for the people around me to know these things. I think it's important for people to know that if I die, however I go, I don't want Don to be alone for the rest of his life. If that's not something he wants. I have friends that have very specific feelings about this, especially friends that have children that are like, oh my God, the thought of someone else parenting my children post mortem is like a lot. And I wondered if I was going to feel differently about this after having a child, but honestly, nope. Like, here's my two requirements. Make sure that my end of life celebration is a party and people have fun. Like, yes, you can sob, but sob while telling people funny stories about me, right? Like, come on. There's so much material to draw from.
Mhm.
Sob
Yeah.
hilarity, but like, we don't need to wear black. We don't need to, like, we can be you can be sad that you won't get to enjoy all this any longer, and neither will my child. However, like I had so much fun while living. I'm having so much fun while alive. I wouldn't want that to be like my final like send off into the void, right? And the other thing is make sure my daughter knows how funny it was. Because genuinely, like I hope that if there's one thing that she can take away from an albeit traumatic experience, which would be me dying, like I hope that she takes away how much joy I lived my life with and how much fun we had together,
Mm.
even if she doesn't remember a lot of it. So I think that that's why it's like so important for me to do that because we just don't know, and I don't. I can consider my controlling tendencies whatever, but I just don't want to be one of those people that's like laying on my deathbed being like, oh my God, like no one knew what I wanted, no one knew like all of these things. Like I want people to know my end of life stuff now. So
Yeah. Yeah, me too. And not like officially. I mean, similar story when COVID was at its peak. And I remember that first spring, it was like April, May 2020. And I was like, I should write my will just in case. Like, I'm working from home. I don't go anywhere. I'm not in contact with anybody.
but
I'm probably fine. But just in case this is tragic and all this shit happens, like, I want this to go to this person. And sorry, I still have student loan debt and all this other shit. But since then, we've moved in my little fish brain from that alarmist, like, I could die at any time. Who's gonna get my iPod? To like,
just me and Bella like in a drag out fight in the stream. Me being like, music meant so much to me and her, and Bella being like, it's her last belonging.
yeah, this like 5-year-old lipstick that's all mangled, but it was my favorite. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think about that a lot. But I've gone from that like paranoid, I have to, a lot of it has to do with just like, I think getting older and realizing that there is so much that you can't control, even if you try really hard. I've gone from like, who's going to get every single one of my individual possessions
Right.
to when I die, however that happens, I don't want to be buried. I want to be cremated,
You know,
and I want my
this is so interesting. I'm gonna point out, I'm just gonna like pause that for let this be the official, like this is on record. Like, yes, we'll have a will, whatnot, yada yada. But this is official on record of post-mortem wishes for both Olivia and I. Let the record show.
here we go. So Olivia wants to be cremated, and I want half my ash if this is possible, because I'm assuming that we're both gonna live well enough into the future and we're not gonna get nuked or get cancer and die from all the microplastics. But who knows?
You
Who
never
knows?
know. You never know.
You don't know till you know. So, in the event that I live to the, in my mind, perfect old age of 87,
Okay.
I think 87 is good because, like, 83 is a little young, 90 is too much. I like 87 is good, I think, for the brain that I have and where
Okay.
science is going. I think 87 is a good stopping point. When I'm done at 87, I want to be cremated and I want half my ashes scattered in the ocean and the other half plant a tree.
Hmm.
So I get both. I
I
get
love
to
it.
like continue and like support life, but then I also get to be where my soul has always wanted to be. I've always wanted to be a mermaid. So throw my ashes in the Monterey Bay.
Love that. Camilla would love. Okay, so a couple of contextual points here. This has actually been something that I've thought about quite a bit, given the fact that in Catholic tradition, I grew up Catholic, as we know. I think I've talked about that before. The fact that in Catholic tradition, you don't separate someone's ashes and you don't spread them. You don't scatter them. Because the belief is that, like, when Christ rises again, you want your ashes, whether it's your ashes or your body, whatever, in one piece, so that you can physically resurrect. So when I was younger, I was like, I had such a hard time with this because I've always wanted my ashes scattered. So I remember being like 12. I should have known this was where kind of like I was going in life because at 12 years old, seventh grade, I'm thinking they're like, damn, could I deal with that? Like my ashes all in one place? Like, what do you mean? Who was doing that when you're 12? Me, apparently. Um, so I
You.
went from like
Yeah.
that,
Camilla the Morbid.
the dark, my emo era, writing poetry on Tumblr. And, um, I want, first of all, very important to me, I want all of my organs that are possible to be donated. Now, if I'm in my 90s and that's just not, doesn't work, okay, great. But whatever can work, go for it. If people are like, we need to discuss or study something, okay, great. Take it all.
We've
I'm no
discussed in our
longer there.
previous episode advocating for organ donation.
Right. I'm no longer there. So do whatever. That's kind of honestly though how I feel. Like I'm no longer there. So I think that cremation is not only more accessible, but it's also more financially accessible. And I don't know why, but I've always had this image of being buried and like decomposing slowly into the ground and the ground. It just I don't like it. Have some slight claustrophobia, and that makes me want to die. So free, free death, free death. Very. But also, I don't like the thought of and back home in Bogota, it's actually very common for I don't know how to describe these in English because I don't even know if I know the right name of it in Spanish, but it's almost um, like open air mausoleum style where like you as a family will buy like a little alcove and you put your family members' ashes there. Some people opt to be buried like into that kind of thing, but some people is just like literally just like urns. I don't want that either. I want my family and friends and loved ones, my fans and my haters, just kidding. But all of our fans,
But also true.
but also
Yeah.
true. I want to like my kids, I want my daughter to feel like I'm with her regardless of where I physically am. I don't feel like I need a physical
Mm.
resting place. So I still hold that spreading my ashes is something somewhat important to me. Honestly, after having that experience on the boat, I feel like I would want perhaps people have so many thoughts on this, but I perhaps would want part of my ashes to be turned into a piece of jewelry for my kids
I think
to be
that's
able to
so
wear.
cool.
Mostly because I think A, that would be meaningful, like you're always with me in a physical sense, but also then I would get to keep traveling and be bopping around. You know what I mean? That would be cool. Um, I would want part of my ashes probably to be spread here because it's where I spent the most time. Or maybe now that I
Like
think about it,
in the yard.
no, like in the San Francisco Bay,
Mm.
like in these waters. But now that I think about it, like, wouldn't it be fun? Could you? Okay, now we're really getting into like, what if, right? What if I could somehow get my ashes and to be a part of like a train or something? Like, could I get my ashes somewhere so that I could keep moving and going? You know, like, could
Yeah, like
I?
turned into a piece of machinery
Yes.
or
Is
like
that a
decoration.
thing? Because I would be oh about that life. If our podcast blew up and made it big and like we had whatever, could we be a part of equipment or
Kickstart
something? I
or
don't know. Like I just I love the idea of physically continuing even
mm,
if my
leaving a
body
legacy.
doesn't. Yeah, but like a physical one instead of like a, you know, whatever. I would hope that, and that's where I think enough people or people like our age don't think enough about like what kind of legacy they want to leave because I think that's a really heavy word. Like,
Mm,
oh,
that could be a
legacy.
whole nother
Right.
episode
Like
that's intimately
leaving,
related to this topic.
yeah, like leaving like what do you want to leave, right? And I think that I've settled on I want to leave primarily like a legacy of joy. Like that's where the whole like make sure she knows how funny I was comes from. Like I want to leave a
Yeah.
legacy of, you know, they say, oh God, not if I start getting really meta, you have to stop me. But they say, or I heard once a quote that really stuck with me, which is that you die twice. You die the first time when your physical body expires, and the second time when the last person to know your name goes. And
Uh, yeah.
I would hope that even if like it's hundreds of years later, I would hope that even if no one's saying like, "Oh, I remember my great grandma who did this" or whatever, yada yada yada, I would hope that my kids would just like have such a my kids, I only have one child, but my family would have such a effect of my joy, of my like joy for life that that would permeate like that they would be people who would like look to find the good in the small shit, the people who would want to help other people and like would believe in things like community, like that my values would persist, not necessarily like physical tangible things. Although, you know what, if in 200 years someone wants to discover the book that I wrote about dating apps and is like, wow, this is a relic, it's incredible, like sure.
Anthropological studies. Yeah.
Right. Study me. I'm here to be studied in the future. No, just kidding. But I do think that that matters to me more. Like it matters more that my values persist versus a like physical, tangible effect, if that makes sense, on the world.
No, yeah, I totally agree. Like the whole concept, because that the legacy part to me is so like you really start that your like posthumous legacy. You start that with whatever funeral or memorial service or whatever like last rites kind of
Mhm.
thing. You really set the tone for how people are going to remember you, how you want to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Not revered exactly, but like you know, where like you choose based on, I think, what type of event, air quotes, that you have
Mm.
for your death, whether it's a really somber funeral like in a church or other house of worship or somebody's home and everybody's wearing black, a more westernized traditional view of a
Mhm,
funeral.
mhm.
That's one way to do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if that's what your family or your culture does, then honor that if that's what you want to do. But then there are memorials that might be more inclusive and more upbeat, and celebrations of life. Just the verbiage that we use to talk about all of these different, right? Like ways to remember people after their physical bodies have expired. Funeral, like the funeral march sounds a certain way. And a memorial, like it's award season, I guess. And there's always that part of whatever award ceremony where it's in memoriam and
Mm.
it's sort of
Somber, like, yeah.
glamorized. It's
Mm.
yeah, it's like it's showing the best parts, the crowning achievements of those people, but you're still supposed to cry. Like it's still supposed to be sad that
Mhm.
these, directors and actors and whatnot have died. And then a celebration of life. And that's really, I think, what you and I are going for with
Yeah.
this, where we want to be remembered as joyful people, and we want those of us who we loved and who loved us, we want them to remember us with joy and to, of course, be allowed to grieve
Right,
because,
right, right. I'm
duh,
not saying that my
that's
daughter
part
should
of
be
it.
like, "Oh, well, like that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just
Dang, dang. Yes.
um no. But yeah, 100%. And you know what, where I think this, and I this is not sponsored. I want to asterisk this so hard. Olivia's
Not
like,
sponsored yet, but
where are
it
you
could be.
going with this? Where are you going with this? This is where I think that financial planning, specifically around the idea of end of life, can be really important. Obviously, I think that it makes more sense as you get older. No, I don't think you should buy life insurance for yourself and also rack up credit card debt and also like not, you know what I mean? Like do things in order, in like an order, do the things with highest impact first. But like for example, I'll give you a great example. My work offers um like an automatic death benefit, but for I think it's like $2 more. Like I people are really gonna think I'm more for this one, but like I have a $10,000 life insurance policy out of my daughter, who's only one, because I would not want the financial costs if she were to tragically die. I would be in shambles, and I would not want to have to think about something as in that moment, right? Like I don't give a fuck about money. And I know myself, and I would just like I don't want to think about it. Same thing, like I have like a small one through work, and that's one of the things that I want to take us kind of into next is I believe that companies
The
should
finances of
should
death.
well, but also I think companies have a responsibility, and we should inquire like in our interview process about what the like post-mortem benefits are at companies when we're evaluating whether or not we want to work there. Because I think some companies do a
Mm.
great job and some companies don't, right? Like my job allows me for I think again it's like $3 a month uh to have like I think it's $50,000 policy on my husband. And granted, is that like earth-shattering amount of money? No, not at all. Same, I think for myself, I think I have like a 150,000 maybe, but it's enough that like my family would be fine for a year or two to grieve properly. To not that
Mhm.
there's like an expiration, but to not have to add the layer of finances to an already fucking horrible time. One of my like
Yeah.
life goals,
Yeah.
this is me putting it out there, but I hope across my life I am disciplined, organized, and successful enough financially. One of my like um big like life dreams is to, it sounds so, I don't know why, but as an adult, it feels like
I
to say
biggest
like
life dreams is
one of
to
my biggest
die.
life dreams. I'm like, oh god, like it's cringy. It feels cringy, but it's true. Is to create a fund, like a grief fund for my family and extended family that I can pay into and that other people can pay into, so that when people in our family die, we not only have access to the death benefits and to the like bereavement leave at work, but we can also access that to supplement our own income. So they're not worried about that. We're not worried about that. I would hope that when my parents go, I have enough in my savings that I could take time off work. And if I'm working a job that's like, no, you fucking can't, then I can be like, fuck you. Like that's my hope is that my
Well, that,
finances are
yeah.
organized in a matter where I can support myself through that. And I hope that I can do that for my daughter. I hope that when I go, I mean, granted, maybe is she a millionaire? I don't know. Her life, her story, her journeys through life. Maybe she's gonna
We
write
can hope.
a hit jingle at the age of 4 and we're set. But um if she's still working when I go, or if she's whatever she's doing, I would hope that I can provide that for her as like a piece of I can't take away how shitty it is to lose your mom, right? And that's I think that that's my point is like I feel like sometimes when I talk about this with people, people are like, "Oh my god, well, it's like it's not going to make it any better." No, that's the point is it
That's
doesn't make
not
it
the
any
point. Yeah.
easier that that person is dead. It just makes it so you don't have another thing to stack on top of it, something as large and as weighty as finances. Something
Yeah,
that
exactly.
my footing most company did, which was incredible. And honestly, I have not stopped thinking about since it happened. Um, for context, my footing was 35 when he died in 21. And it was tragic, not just because he's young, because I think people ascribe like a level of tragedy, like, oh, his life was cut short kind of vibe. But it was also tragic because he had started at this company like a year prior, was doing great work, was loving the work, had a great team, like he had a great company culture. But one thing that this company did that was incredible, honestly, looking back, because I'd never seen anything like it, was they hired a bereavement team, part of the company, to
Whoa.
meet with they had sessions with his team. So his team had a space to grieve, and it was like a psychologist, a therapist, and a priest who did like this bereavement thing with his team. And then they hired that same team over Zoom for our family. So and that was one of the only death related postmortem things I got to participate in living in another country. I didn't get to do anything else, but I got to do that. And it was so healing, not just because we had space as a family to like get together on Zoom, different countries, different time zones, different whatever, to like be taught about grief and how to move through the grieving process. But also, I just kept thinking, like, wow, his company paid for this. Like, his company
Yeah.
thought, let me set myself up in a way that if my employee tragically dies unexpectedly, and they were different environments, right? Like they didn't pay like a Zoom session and everyone's there. His team's there. Like they're like, I met him last year. He was a funny guy. Meanwhile, I'm like, he was like my brother. Like that we were doing that, right? Like it was it was honestly beautiful. And yeah, I feel like every company should do that because holy fuck, the difference that that made. And I'm sure like not everyone got all of that out of it. Maybe his team members like were like didn't quote need it like that. But the fact that it was an option, the fact that that was just offered, like mad
That's so
respect.
like who's running that place?
This is what I'm
Who
saying. I want
had
to
the
know.
compassion?
And the foresight. Or was it?
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
again, I don't know enough about his company where he was working at the time to be like, hey, was this a corporate benefit or did you guys just like decide to like do this thing as a project? Like, I want to know the logistics in the back end because that's who I am as a person. But it was so beautiful and it was so wonderful. And it really, it made me think a lot about like what kind of, not responsibility, but like what kind of thing we can do for people that's actually tangible and helpful when someone dies. And that's a whole conversation, 'cause I think grief is a different topic than we're talking about. But
Well,
from a
yeah, I wanted to
corporate,
like stick with the workplace because I
yeah,
have
but
thoughts on that.
from a corporate responsibility standpoint, like, wouldn't it be amazing if all of our workplaces had that? Like, dude, if someone came to me with an offer letter that was 10% lower than another one, but it had this kind of thing included in it, it's not even a question. That for me would be a huge selling point as far as benefits go. If I know that you're gonna set up a fucking bereavement team for my family and for my team, okay, like, hopefully no one ever
Yeah.
fucking needs it. But when someone does, wouldn't that be incredible?
Then they get what they need. Yeah. Wow. I love that. That is so the opposite of, and again, I don't know how much of this is cultural and like where we are in this time and place, but I've had coworkers, as over the time that I've been a working adult, I've had coworkers who have lost, grandparents, parents, very intimate family members, and been given like a week of bereavement leave,
3 days.
and then it's unpaid, or yeah, it's a matter of days. And like someone died.
Right.
Someone was on this planet and now they're not. And maybe that doesn't affect the company or whatever, but
But
it
it
affects the people
does.
who it,
Like, from both
yeah,
a social
exactly.
responsibility and a bottom line, like, not to be like money, but in the capitalist system that we work in, you're gonna fucking tell me that someone working 5 days after their mom dies is productive from an efficiency standpoint? Like, what kind of work product are they actually producing? Or are they sitting there zoned out the fucking mind, holding back tears and wanting to like die every time someone passes by their door and is like, I'm sorry about your mom, or worse, doesn't say anything at all, or like, it's just, yeah, I think it's just such an understated like impact. And again, back to the corporate benefits, like, I just feel like we just need to have better fucking standards, and we need to add this to the level of conversation. It's kind of like things like menstrual leave right now starting to become part of like corporate like thing. But you know what I saw
I
once?
want
Okay, shout out to the company Remote, because Remote is like it's a international payroll company, whatever. So on my like dream companies to work for list. And one of those reasons is because they publish their like employee like Notion board, all of our company policies publicly. So you can like be nosy as hell and like
oh,
just dig through. So one day I got bored and I was looking through their policies, and they have a mandatory 3 week miscarriage leave. Um,
miscarriage leave.
yeah. And I was like, it was the first
Wow.
time that I'd seen something like that. And I was like, wow. And they were like, no, it's mandatory. And like, it's mandatory 3 weeks and suggested, I think, is 6. And for a company
Ah,
to think about the logistics that it would take any employee to be out of commission for 6 weeks unexpectedly, because it's not a vacation, it's not a sabbatical, it's not something that you plan,
mhm.
but to do that in a way that that's just part of their corporate culture. If if you work for Remote and you listen to this podcast, like, if you hire me, I will never leave, because shit like that is
For that
what
reason alone.
yeah. Oh, hey. No, but stuff like that is what makes people loyal. I think companies really don't understand or care in some aspects about stuff like that. And those are the things that I feel like would make a radical difference in people showing up to work in a different way, and in people being able to move through things like death. Like, if we could just, hey, just fucking talk about it and
Yeah.
be like, plan for it so that we're not taken aback, because you don't know. And like, God forbid, but like, it's possible that I die not in my cozy hammock on a book spat with Dom at 85. Maybe I die next week in a horrific car crash that involves a week of being on life support and my family having to process that. Like, that's traumatic and horrific and tragic enough. I don't need to
Yeah,
add
we don't need to add.
the logistics to it. You know what I mean? And so I think that the more, for me, that's why it's important that my friends know my end of life wishes, that it's very clear because in the moment, it's also why, and this is kind of like where I wanted to end our conversation on today about your thoughts on advanced like medical directives because I have like specific thoughts
Oh,
on those.
assisted unaliveness? Is
No,
that what
no,
we're
no,
talking
no.
about?
We're talking
Because
about like
that's a whole.
we're talking about things like DNRs. So
Hmm.
you medical advanced care medical directives are basically like you being like, here's what I want to happen to me. Like I do want life-saving measures. In these cases, I don't want life-saving measures. In these cases, I want to sign a DNR, whatever. All of that. The when I was in an ambulance fairly recently, but when I was, the EMT asked me like, "Oh, do you have an advanced directive?" And you could tell like he's just expecting no, and I was like, "I do," and he was like, "You do?" Because I'm sure that it's weird that someone of my age has that in writing. Granted, I need to redo mine because the paperwork itself, like the hard copy, got lost when we moved, and so I need to redo mine and put it with my new medical provider. But when I was donating my kidney, that was part of it was an optional part of the process was to do the paperwork for your advance directive. And that was a moment that really made Dom and I very somber and we had a whole conversation about it because we had to sit down with paperwork. I had to have a witness, like witness it and da 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 and really think about like what do I want at the end of my life? Or if I'm in a situation where critically, medically, whatever. But I think we should know those things too. I think that we should just have more transparency about that because like I want my family to know this, but also I want to think critically when I'm good, not when I'm in a hard spot about what I want.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my point where my mom hears this, she knows this. My mom's not on my directive paperwork. So like when it comes to making end of life decisions, like unplug Camilla, it's time. It goes Dom, then it goes my sister, then it goes my dad. It used to go to one of my friends, and I don't know if through the healthcare system we have now, and like through our health insurance, if I can assign four, but like whatever, it'll be a friend with fourth and fifth if I can. My mom's nowhere on that list because my mom would never unplug me. I know this, and
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to put that on her in a
Yeah.
hilarious way. And to lighten the to lighten middle, my dad says that Dom is like third or fourth on his list for his directive
On your
because
dad's list?
yeah, because
What?
he said I would sneeze and Dom would be like, "It's it. This is the end." Because both my dad and Dom want much like I'm the kind of girl like yeah, put me in a coma, give me some time. Like I'm a a comeback queen. We know this. We knew this when we were playing beer pong in
Yes.
college. We know this now as an adult. Like I'm a comeback queen. So if you tell me like no, you know what, you got 2 weeks on this machine. I don't know. Maybe I'll hit it. That'll be the moment where I'm like, and I'm back. Maybe I won't. But Dom doesn't
You'll
want.
never know.
You'll never know. Um, Dom doesn't want that at all. Dom is like, if
Mm.
there's even an inkling that my mental capacity, my physical capacity will be diminished to a point where he's like, nope, I don't want to be hooked up to life-saving measures. I want to go in that moment. Dom is not a sign at DNR right now. He's also in his 30s, you know. But my dad, I do think that as time goes on, my dad will likely be a DNR kind of person where he's gonna be like, you know, the moment that I like really I'm having a heart attack and I'm about to go, like let me go. Don't do not enact all these things. So paired with our conversation of death, I actually think that our conversations about what we want before or leading into or like in those kind of crisis moments, I think those are just as important as our conversations around like the post-mortem celebration.
Yes. Yeah, because that has me thinking like in addition to the DNR related stuff, because we people are living longer.
Yes,
The older you get, the more stuff
you got going
goes
on.
wrong in your body. That's just, yeah, the more medications you may be on, the more procedures you may have. Like our bodies are not built to last as long as they are.
Mm,
So I've had a lot of conversations with friends, coworkers, family, Bella about where the line is for um assisted
suicide?
suicide. I'm gonna say it. Yeah, like we're already marked as explicit. I'm not gonna say unalive again because
No,
that a part of me died when I said that.
I want you to know that that phrasing, I understand for algorithm purposes and whatever that but it's kind of like when people write porn or um this like I'm like, oh God, like part of me is like, can we not just be grown ass people and just call things what they are? I understand why we can't, but like the
Yes.
fact that I have to in my Instagram stories write the word sex S3X
Mm-hmm.
so I don't get banned.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm just trying to like give like content warnings on whether or not books that I review are explicit or not. Like, be so real. This is why I just
Yeah.
use the pepper sound.
So
Anyways,
for real. Um, but yeah, like I have had so many conversations just like, not with any legal body present, no paperwork
sure.
right now because
You're like,
I'm
I'm not
28.
notarizing this.
Yeah, yeah, it's like I'm not, but I've had conversations with people about where the line is for assisted suicide because it's not only is it so different from state to state, but there's such a spectrum of what people deem a desirable state to be in when you go. Like
Yep.
some people are totally cool with like losing it mentally as long as their bodies are still functioning, and other people are the opposite. Like if my mind is strong and my body is going, take me outside and shoot me like a horse. Like there's there are
Or
so many and
what phrasing? Yep, I'm the crazy one. But I just have to point out that sometimes you'll never know what is about to come out of Olivia's mouth. Take me outside and shoot me like a horse is crazy. Also, because why was the horse inside?
maybe it was a miniature pony. I don't fucking know.
A
I
freaking miniature pony who's like, it's time for me to go. Please take me outside and shoot
yeah,
me.
like I'm pooping
Why
a little too much.
why did the miniature pony just become British? I'm so sorry to any British person. I that was perfect. I hear you and I understand. And I'm sorry.
My God. But yeah, like my stance, if my mind is going, if I'm not super sharp, but I'm sharp enough to sign the paperwork, let's do it. Conversely, if I am like so acutely aware of what's happening and I'm able to still like read the news and have conversations with people, but I can't wipe my own ass, like that's, like all of these things should not be conversations like we've been saying this entire episode. These should not be conversations that we wait until someone is in a home or has an at-home caregiver or is forgetting to take medication and that has further complications. Like we should be having these conversations at every stage of life,
Mhm.
not just the one that's immediately before death.
And we should be doing it in a legal and binding way. So like when you said like, oh, I'm only 20. Yeah, okay, so Like you should have an advanced directive. You should tell your health insurance provider, this is what I want. Because I'm going to say something wild right now.
As if we weren't saying wild things the
Right.
entire episode. I
Right,
love
right,
this.
right. But if you don't, and you get into a car accident tomorrow, your partner, who knows you the best and who knows what you want, presumably in this case, she's not going to be the ones making decisions. Your mom is, because you're not married.
This is true. Yeah. Another layer, people. Yeah, the legality with familiar situations, partners, especially like I mean, go off on this, but especially if you are in a I'm so sorry for the motorcycle that just went by. Excuse you, what the fuck? It's 10 p.m.
You're like, go home. What are you doing? As if we're not
Go
active. They're like, I'm trying. You're like, try harder.
speed up and go away, but like make it quiet.
Yeah, you're like,
Like,
vroom, vroom.
get out my face. But I don't even know what I was gonna say. Oh, like this is so complicated and why so many queer films that involve death are sad because of
Yeah,
the legal situation
right.
with partnerships and all that. So this is our pitch, our dual-ended pitch. Be an organ donor and get your paperwork done before you are 75 with dementia.
And if all of that sounds overwhelming, because for a lot of people, it's like, oh my God. Like, this is why people run away from it, right? Because it's like, that's so many things to do. And what do I think of? And what do I want? Okay, cool. You can start. Like, you can take first step just by thinking to yourself, like, if I was in an accident tomorrow, would I want life-saving measures given? Yes or no? If I was in an accident tomorrow, I would assume that a lot of people would say, like, yes, life-saving measures. Okay, but what's the extent of that? And you could just look in your health insurance portal, or if you're on like state insurance, whatever you have, and see like what's the process for an advanced care directive? What kind of paperwork do you need? Do you need to notarize it? Do you just send in a form? Because I think mine now is literally just you fill out a form. I think you have to print it and notarize it, but I think that's it. So it's really not that complicated, but you have to like know what it is. So if you need, thoughts on that. And I think in general, just like I would hope that we can start opening this up, even if it's just in our minds. I have some family that I've been kind of like on everyone's ass. I had a friend um whose dad died back in 2019. Yeah. And his estate is still in probate. As far as I know.
Oh my god.
I don't really talk about much anymore, so I'm not sure, but as of last year it was still in probate, like 5 years after death. 6 years after death.
Whoa.
After that happened, like she became really vocal to everyone, including my dad, about like getting your end of life stuff situated so you don't leave your family with just a fucking mess. I mean, the reality is none of us are planning on dying, uh, like in the context of these conversations, right? And so that's our point: is like plan for it before it's necessary. When you're in like a good state of mind, don't let your loved ones wonder. Don't add that like level of stress. But in that, in me becoming vocal and me like encouraging everyone, Dom and I were just talking about this the other day about how we have to make a like a will specifically in terms of thinking about like custody of our daughter and who takes custody in the event that both of us go. And
Yeah.
we were talking about this the other day, and brought it up to someone, and she was like, one of my family members, one of my cousins, and she was like, "Oh my God, like don't talk like that." Like I think there's so much.
We're not manifesting it
Right.
by
There's
talking
so
about it.
much
There's so much
there's so much
superstition.
superstition about if you talk about it, it's gonna happen. But here's the thing, I'm not gonna die because I said I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die because I'm gonna die. Like that's just the reality. Whether it happens
Mhm.
tomorrow, in 10 years, in 40 years, whether it happens from natural causes, from an illness, from uh, a car falling on the roof of my car as I drive down the freeway. Uh, It will happen. It's one of the only guarantees we have in life.
Yeah. The great equalizer.
Right.
Everybody
So
dies.
everybody dies. So why not? If it seems really scary and horrible and you somehow made it to the end of this episode by the like legitimately like clinging on for dear life, then I think that that's something we should address within ourselves first and foremost and think about like what are the things. And a lot of it I think has to do with fear about our parents, about losing our parents, about like them getting older. And it's a lot as an adult to see your parents get older and to your life to change in that way. But I think that first it has to be a conversation we have inside, and then we can start to have the conversation outside with our loved ones and ask questions like, hey, friend, to our parents. You guys got a will? You guys got a like? Where are your passwords? You know, like I think it's great that like
Where are your
these
passwords?
binders and these like bins and stuff are popping off on TikTok and stuff. Back to my TikTok shopping. But one of the things that I
The life planning binder on
it
TikTok
is
shop.
it is. There's this woman who has this
What?
company where that's what she does. She has like this like these are all my things so that in the event that a crisis happens, not just that, but in the event that a crisis happens, your mortgage is in one place. Your car like title is in one place. Your everything is in one place. Your passwords are in one place so that your family doesn't have to go digging through like the hellhole while they're trying to organize your end of life stuff or just find anything, right? You can become incapacitated and disabled at any point for any reason. So I think that we should remember that and plan for that. There's also this like company that does like these bins where they're like an organizer. Anyways, but obviously like Olivia and I have had this conversation inside of ourselves, and so we're comfortable talking about it with other people. You might not be there. And that's okay. But we just want to encourage you to think about it and inside and then, have conversations outside and go from there because it's really important. And I think now more than ever, there's no reason we shouldn't. Maybe we just need to start like a end of life planning company for like millennials. You and me, just
Oh my
like
God.
a concierge service where we're like, let's walk you through all the things that you need, like a wedding planner, but for your oh my God, Olivia. Could we hit?
But it's different from being like funeral home directors
Yeah,
and
no.
no, like we're like working with those vendors, right?
Yeah,
We're
yeah. We're the wedding planner. We're death doulas, which is a whole thing we didn't even get to talk about in this. And I think
oh
that we
God.
totally could. Like where those people are like physically there. Like I think we are logistically there. We're logistically there for your crisis and end of life. Your logistic support. Oh my god. Now I'm like, what's up?
We'll workshop it.
We're gonna keep going. We're gonna continue. But I do think, that bears thinking about. I think this is something that people need. Our haters are gonna come for us for this one. They're like, actually, you're stupid. No one needs this, and we should all just die in a mess. You said stay messy, so will my finances after I die. Just kidding.
My God. That's a choice. You know what?
You know
Hashtag
what?
stay messy.
Hashtag do what you want with your life and your messes. Choose your messes, I guess, and you choose your
Choose your message.
end of life stuff in your family to be one of them.
That's crazy. Oh my God.
We've gone on a trip.
I
All right.
think we should wrap up. I have some recommendations to wrap
Yes.
with before we get into our songs of the week.
Go.
Speaking of death, the probably most well-known person on YouTube that I would be surprised if our listeners haven't heard of by now, Ask a Mortician, Caitlin Doty. She runs not only a crematorium, but a company slash service. I don't know exactly what to call it. It's called The Good Death, and it's an organization that is doing exactly the work that we're trying to do with increasing the conversations that people have about death and making sure that people get what they want and that it's not only accessible but affordable, because there's the whole, like we were talking about earlier, the finances of having someone die unexpectedly. It can put you, or not you because you're dead, but it can put your loved ones into significant debt. So
Sorry, that was just
highly
so funny. You're like, not you. And I was gonna be like, why not me? And then I was expecting you to be like, not you because you already planned for this. But then you went with because you're dead. And I was like, oh, this was like generally you. This was okay, got it, got it, got it. That was just
this is
really
the
funny.
collective. Yeah, the dead collective can create debt for the living collective,
Yeah,
which is like the
I'm
most
looking
weird
through her
thing
website
I've
right
said.
now, and it's
Hmm.
really interesting. And she has a whole section, orderofthegooddeath.com is the website that I'm looking at, by the way. And she has a whole section on resources like death anxiety, preparing for death, eco-friendly, like books and just all kinds of stuff. She even
Yeah,
has a
she's
career
written
section.
multiple books. A career, that's so cool. Wait, hook us up. Careers.
Olivia and I are gonna be like, oh, we're gonna end the recording and then we're
Olivia and
gonna be
I.
like, careers in death.
Yeah.
Or
I make my living in death.
the dead stay dying
Oh,
and
that's the slogan.
I stay like, I don't know, something about making money.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again,
Cashing in
we're
on
gonna.
your demise. Okay, anyway, sorry.
Mhm. Okay. Now, yeah. Now I'm thinking about slogans. Anyway, just when you thought that you would get an episode without this chaos, you were
I don't
wrong.
think they ever
We just
thought that.
saved it for the end.
They were like,
Wow. Yeah,
wow.
that's just me. That's my Delulu Salulu. But Caitlin Doty, so I recommend checking out the organization. Her YouTube channel is, I wouldn't call it sensationalist exactly, but her content as of the last few years is more like the mystery of such and such death and the shipwreck and how were these bodies preserved. It's interesting, but not um it's not the advocacy that you get from the org. And then she's got two books at least. She probably has more at this point, but the two books of hers that I have read are Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, and that's her memoir of how she got into working at crematories and just things that she has learned about how bodies decompose. And this book that has a really fun, shiny cover that maybe you'll eventually see if we put this on YouTube, called From Here to Eternity. And she visits like 8 or 10 countries and states and explores how the people living in those places treat their dead. So it goes into, like you were talking about, the just wall of urns for the family.
Mhm.
And that's specific to multiple cultures across the world. And then there's like different versions of mummification. And she talks about, she has a long chapter on Dia de Muertos and the history of its revival and commercialization and all kinds of stuff. And where's the chapter on mounds? Like eco-friendly burial mounds where there are all these layers of different types of soil and things that are beneficial for the landscape so that your body's not just like decomposing and that's it. It actually contributes to the soil and the landscape that you're buried in. Very cool. But long story short, there are resources out there that discuss alternatives to burial, cremation, um, I was gonna say taxidermy, LOL, embalming.
Oh, That's the option we didn't discuss during this episode. The option to become just a. Can you imagine? Okay, no. That's chaos. We do not need it. Olivia, please, dear God. You, again, y'all think I'm the crazy one. I want you to know Olivia just hides her crazy better. Olivia's just takes a little bit to sneak out on you, whereas mine is from the get.
Right out there. Yeah.
Anyways, what are you listening to?
Oh my god. Well, not gonna lie, the last couple of weeks have been quite stressy, depressy for me. The weather has been gorgeous, but
It's a little
I
too
have
warm for
been
me for this
experiencing.
time of year. I'm like, it's March.
It's yeah.
Relax. Like, I want
I still
spring.
have sweaters. Yeah, yeah. We didn't really get enough rain.
No.
So I have been listening to a couple of throwbacks.
Okay.
The first one being Breathe, parentheses, 2 a.m. by Anna Nalick.
Is that the
You
the
you know it.
Just Breathe? That one?
Yes.
Okay. Because there's a really sexy song called Breathe. And it's not the one you're referring to. And I was
It's
like, it's like,
no,
put your hands on my body. Breathe. Like, I was like, that's
no,
it's
it's
like
not that.
I was
This
like,
one
now
is
we know
like,
what Olivia listens to and she's just eating. Okay. Yep.
yeah. So that one and a solid sad girl indie-ish, not so much anymore. Ceilings, Lizzie McAlpine. Still
Ceilings
hits.
sped up or original?
Original.
Ooh.
Because it just oh,
I kind of
it's a
like it
gut
sped up.
punch. Folding
Kind of.
laundry.
Ooh, dark. I'm into it. I have been listening to. Well, now I feel like I have to add that other Breathe song. So we're gonna add that to the playlist. Now I have to figure out
Great.
who sings it because I. Hold on. Let me figure this out. It's called Breathe. It's by Nikki Blue. Check it out on our playlist, which uh our playlist will soon be also on Apple Music if you are a Apple
Hey.
Music and I was thinking we could also put it on YouTube. That could be fun. Like to find like live versions of our songs. Could be like just a little interesting. So I've been listening to
Think
that,
so?
and then this Dom sent me a reel of this guy on the street talking about how he was bullied, and then he hops in the studio, and turns out that guy's a musician. And oh my god, this man's voice is incredible. So his name is Gavin Copeland. So his song "Blood in the Water" has been um on my oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no,
Rotation.
oh no. I just turned I just turned on music on the baby monitor.
Oh no.
Okay. I think I fixed it. I think I just put white noise back. Help.
Oh my god.
You gotta hear live, folks. Yeah, so Blood in the Water. Amazing. I think there's a line in there that he said something like, I don't need your respect, or I don't need your love, I just need your respect. And I was like,
Oh. Oh.
like that went hard. So definitely recommend that. And yeah, now I feel like I'm gonna go listen to your breathe because now all I hear is my breathe and my
2 a.m. and she calls me. Like it's still so good. I'm 7 years old at the roller rink, and I'm experiencing a level of sadness that I don't understand.
ooh. You know what that reminds me of? And we'll end with this banger of a little clip, which is crazy for our episode on death, but that reminds me of the time that my eighth grade boyfriend, Steven, if you're listening to this, I know. Why do I still talk about it? Because You can't do this shit and have me not still talk about it. He went to a party. I was out of town. He went to a party. They played Truth or Dare, and someone asked him, like, scale 1 to 10, how much do you like Camilla? And he said 7 because she's not pretty. Um, so this was when that song, like, uh, what's the freaking name of it? Impossible came out by, can add to the playlist. That would be hilarious. By Chantel. Hold on. Impossible.
Possible.
Yeah,
That one?
yeah.
Oh my god.
That was when that
I
song
forgot.
had just
Interesting.
released. Okay. And so I am not kidding you. And I think my mom was like, are you having a nervous breakdown in the back? I spent an 18-hour road trip from Seattle, go back, listening to that song on repeat, gazing out the window, and like tears. Because I was like, I rather someone told me to polish you to come see. I was like, you betrayed me, humiliated me, and when I just deserved that, we literally drive. Remember, we dropped someone off. I think one of my cousins was those. I don't know. And remember us dropping someone off, my mom pulling over and going, Pamela, what is the problem?
That's all I ever want to ask people. What is the
It's the problem. With that note, thanks for being here. We love you.
comment? Please leave us reviews. Come on. We
You.
know you're listening. Just leave a fucking comment. All right, now it's a threat.
Jesus Christ. Just getting high. She went from, could you please give us to, if you don't fucking review this podcast, I do. Incredible, enchanting, amazing. Have a great week and stay messy.